and we will get started. Hi, John.
Katie, thank you very much. Great intro. And thanks everyone for joining tonight. I know tonight is kind of a big night for Donald Trump. President Trump. He's doing a announcement at 9 o'clock. So we'll be sure to end prior to that so you have time to go ahead and watch and see. So a little background about myself. Born and raised in Delaware, almost 30 years in federal service, either military or civil service. I've been to Iraq, South Korea. I got my degree in aviation computer science from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona. I know it's a mouthful, but with that, ROTC into the Army, and 30 years later, I'm a colonel, full bird colonel in the United States Army. Right now, I'm a instructor at the U.S. Army War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And my time in uniform, my time as a civil servant has spanned many continents, the United States, Asia, Europe, and in all of those different locations, I've come to appreciate and see how people from those different countries view the United States from their eyes. And that perspective has helped me understand how the world sees the United States, how our actions affect the world, and how it affects Americans. So that's a quick little background on myself. But why am I here? Why did I decide to go into this political world? I'm as much of a politician as I am as a cat is a dog. I mean, it's not quite what I thought about doing in the future. But the reason why I moved into this arena was when I saw President Trump shot. Is when I saw Charlie Kirk murdered. When that happened, that was, to me, a crossing of the Rubicon. We moved from political rhetoric to actual kinetics. Our politicians are being murdered, and that's very dangerous for a republic. So I look for ways to help, to join efforts to move the country forward, and I found that Delaware needed a U.S. senator with a bold vision, good leadership, and understanding where we need to go into the future. And to contrast that, we have here in Delaware, a Delaware Republican Party who is stuck in the 80s, stuck in the groupthink that only a Mike Castle can win in Delaware. This idea that a left of center candidate that can straddle that centrist ideological pathway worked really well in the 80s and 90s. But as the left moved into the scene, as globalism was strip mining our middle class, the country was moving in two different directions, more to the left and more to the right. And we were noticing here in Delaware that the dialogue, even the moderates, were being forced to move with the left. So you have, at least in Delaware, the Working Families Party, who is a direct link to the Democratic Socialists of America, communist. So we have folks in the Delaware Assembly. We have folks in the Wilmington Council. Now we have folks going to Congress from New York. So you're seeing this shift where America was kind of in the center in the 80s and 90s, and now we polarized. Now in this new polarized environment, you can't just run a light blue candidate against a blue candidate. You're not going to win because folks are going to look, well, do I need a blue one or a light blue one? They're about the same, so I'll just go with the one I know. It doesn't work. And the Delaware Republican Party has been trying this for 20 years and failing each time. It's time to provide contrast. It's time for a true Republican run. Show the contrast. Show that I am a conservative. I am for the American system of economics. I want to make America first. Make America great again. It's the way to bring together all the things that made America the great nation that it is. So for the last, let me go through the history of what is the American system of economics. We've used this system as Hamilton used it to kickstart America, as Abraham Lincoln used it to rebuild the country after a devastating civil war, as Roosevelt used it to build the arsenal for democracy. Now, about halfway through the Cold War, Nixon cut us off at the gold standard. With that disconnect from the gold standard, it left a window, an opportunity for globalization to move into the scene. So the globalists, for the last 40 plus years, have been strip mining our middle class. You've had multinational companies who are able to straddle different nations and arbitrage labor resources to their advantage and to the disadvantage of America, particularly our middle class. Those jobs left. Those resources were pulled elsewhere. All those left are service jobs, a barista, an Amazon driver, etc. But those jobs don't pay enough for a great home. Those jobs don't show, don't build a strong family unit. And without that strong family unit, you have kids, we have parents who are maybe 2 or 3 jobs. Mom and dad are both working. There's stress in the environment. So the kids feel that stress and they take that stress to school. Now times that by X, the kids who have that stress, and the teachers at school are turning into social workers instead of teachers. I want to turn that around. When you have great jobs when mom and dad are not stressed because of the environment, because of they have great paying jobs, maybe one parent can stay at home, or they're both working, but the stress is very low. Now little Johnny can go to school, and a teacher who has a classroom full of folks who are not bringing all that negative energy into the classroom can teach. That's just step one to making our schools more cohesive, more effective. And then we can do other things on top of that make it more effective. But now you will roll into the era of AI. And so what we have structurally for our schools is something built for the 19th century. So back then we had to have workers move through a assembly line type of education system, which is what we have now. Because when they went to the workforce, when they went to the factory or the business sector, they had to manually calculate. They had to do things by hand. But as technology and time rolled on, we got calculators, we have computers. Now we have AI. So our kids are still stuck in the 19th century model of schooling, and they're being pushed to go toe to toe with a calculator, and they're going to lose every time. We got to recalibrate how we teach our kids. Teach them how to be creative. Teach them a classical education so they understand rhetoric, so they understand even music. Because what those kids will be able to do when they have critical thinking skills, being creative, and understand the harmonics of life, they can take a fleet of AI bots and move them as a symphony to create new things. That's extremely powerful. And that's where AI is a plus for the United States and the world. Now, the future for Delaware. I can see, let me rewind. What is the problem now with Delaware? The problem is, well, what is Delaware? Is it just a vacation home in the beach? Is it a corporate headquarters or a P.O. box in Wilmington? And in between, just farmland and logistics centers? When I was overseas talking to folks would ask me, where are you from? I'm from Delaware. Oh, Delaware, great. Yeah, what city is that in? It's not a city, it's a state. Okay, well, what happens in Delaware? Well, it's the diamond state. Oh, so you build diamonds? Well, no, it's just small and valuable, but we have blue hens. Oh, you have blue hens? No. So folks don't understand what is Delaware, even inside Delaware, let alone outside of Delaware. I think for a vision for Delaware, we have a way forward where we turn Delaware into an innovation hub. Delaware, because it's such a small state, we should be able to turn more quick than any other state in innovation, in deploying new forms of energy, particular small modular reactors. That being nimble in an age of AI, in an age of information moving at the speed of light, having a government system, having a people who are ready to turn on a dime to innovate and react to the environment that they're around. So to make this effective and also make this in such a way that we're not dropping data centers and making our land look crazy and ugly, we consolidate. We have maybe a small data center with powered by nuclear energy, with research facilities nearby and attached to universities. So you have bright minds of students coming out of University of Delaware or elsewhere using the compute from a data center that's powered by, say, nuclear energy. It's using helium instead of water for cooling. That technology exists, it's coming forward. And it has research into trying to have the ability to do research to answer some of the most wicked questions we have in our environment. Now, if you're a company, that's three great things that you need for a company to grow and to be innovative and to be competitive. Power, brain power, actually humans, and the compute, the machines. With those three combined in that kind of renaissance engine, companies are attracted to Delaware and we can start innovating on the fly and building for the future. Now, the small modular reactors like talk about, we've been using this technology for almost 50 years. It's been in our submarines, our aircraft carriers, and we've done just fine. It's combat tested. Our sailors don't glow at night. They're doing just fine. So the innovation of commercial ready reactors is already in the works. In fact, some companies may be ready to deploy first actual commercial ready reactors by 2028, give or take a year. It will take us longer to find a natural gas turbine to provide all the energy we need in Delaware, because it's a 5-year wait period, because everyone is pushing for nuclear, for energy. Delaware, because it's small, nimble, quick, Kenny is small, nimble, and quick, can take advantage of this nuclear renaissance and lead and be an innovator. Now, let's not forget, as we grow, as we learn how to use the technology around us, we can't forget about being healthy. So making America healthy again is paramount. In fact, it's a no-brainer. I want food that's healthy. I want food that doesn't have all these chemicals or insecticide, what have you. These are things we can change. We have the technology. We have the understanding to make our food healthy. To let folks not worry about what's in their food and worry about other things. But to get there, we need transparency from big food, big pharma, who push back against such things. Because there's a profit incentive. Folks don't want to, change. Especially big industry when there's billions of dollars at stake. But it's our food, money, health. There's a balance that should weigh towards more health and not so much profit. So this administration using making America healthy again as an avenue, as a guide on to move forward and make our food healthy again is the way forward. All right, moving on. Now, election integrity. We're going to talk about, President Trump is going to talk about this later on tonight. The Save America Act is paramount to instilling election integrity in the United States. As we saw in California, a month later, they're still counting the votes for the mayor of LA and governor and other things. And it's legal the way it's being done, but is it right? Is it the fact that you could have three candidates, 1, 2, 3, Spencer Pratt being the second one, who was the only Republican in the running for mayor. And then after the day of vote, day after day after day, the third person kept getting more votes than the other two combined, and she overtook Pratt, and Pratt's out of the race. But it's all legit. It's all okay. It's not okay. If we can't trust our elections, we can't look at and go at California and say, okay, that seems fair, that's fine. Then our republic is in serious trouble. All right. Let's talk about the geopolitical situation in the United States and outside the United States. So over the past year, you've had President Trump do some pretty astounding things. And let me put this mental model in your head. Imagine this giant laying on the ground, and these ropes are all tied around the giant and keeping him still. He can't move because it's so tight. President Trump is one by one clipping those cables to free the giant. The giant is America. Clip one cable, U.S. aid. No more aid going to, say, Central America to boost leftist governments. What's happened in the last few months? A red wave that happened in South America. All these governments, which are being funded by, say, U.S. aid or leftist organizations, that aid is gone, and now the people have a way to actually have their voice in South America and Central America. That's one cable cut. Another cable, Panama Canal. The Chinese were doing their best to own all the companies around the area and to monitor and control access with the canal. Done. That's over. Another clip. Venezuela. How spectacular was that? Our American military was able to take Maduro and his wife and move him straight to a jail cell in New York City. Another cut. And in that cut, we did two things. One, we stopped the narco-terrorism coming from Venezuela. And two, we laundered money flowing from the South American, Central American countries had a huge, huge bottleneck with cutting off of Venezuela. So all that money that was going through like the Cayman Islands or all these offshore accounts, severely stymied. Very good. Next, Cuba is still in the works. That cable hasn't been quite yet, but we're working our way through. Greenland. Greenland's very interesting. Most folks just think of it looks good on the map because it's in the right area. It matches North America. But more importantly, where it is on the map makes it a good spot for our Golden Dome. So if any missiles come flying over the horizon, Greenland will be the first to see it and maybe react to defend America. And the second thing, something that's not really said a lot, satellite communications. So up there in the high north, as you have satellites doing a polar orbit around the Earth, one part of the Earth that doesn't really move that much is the polar caps. As they spin very slowly and at the top. It's a great place to have a radar station to communicate with all the satellites, hundreds of them flying over. A lot of bandwidth, a lot of constant communication, and very, very important for national security. There's already one that exists up in Norway, just north of Norway. We need our own. And that's another avenue of approach, another cable to be cut to free America from the constraints of trusting other nations to take care of our telecommunications. Well, that's a lot, isn't it? All right, let's go on to the big ones. Iran. Why Iran? Why did we go into Iran? A lot of questions. Well, we took out the nukes last June. Why did we have to go back? Again, freeing the American giant. We've been in stasis for decades. But one by one, these cables are being cut. And there's no one on this planet who's alive, who's ever seen America at 100% strength. We're going to see that once we're freed from the oil cartel that is the Middle East, the forever wars that are in the Middle East. We've been stuck policing the Middle East for 47 plus years. The Iranian action that we're doing, the action we're doing in Iran is freeing us from that and moving the geopolitical, economy of oil production from the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Mexico. That's huge. It's moving the dynamic. All the funding, the insurance, the production, all that is moving from point A, the Persian Gulf, to point B, the Gulf of America. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we'll free this giant completely. Obviously, there's still the Russia-Ukraine dramas going on. That will be contained to, I think, in the future. But freeing the American giant, freeing us from all these constraints that's been on the United States for decades. We've had globalism keeping us down. We've had our ports, our jobs being moved overseas. And we've had military limitations because of a lot of strategic minerals being offshore to, say, China, offshore to other nations. All that has to come back. All that coming back in the form of being protected by tariffs, the one big beautiful bill with all its financial incentives and tax incentives, and the $18 trillion that President Trump has made over the last year coming into the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, the next year or two, for sure, you'll see more of it in the by midterms. The American giant will awaken. Okay, that's my extremely long and boring monologue. Sorry about that. But I'm ready for questions. Katie, over to you.
Thank you, John. I'm sure everyone is clapping behind their mute buttons right now. That was very inspiring and thorough. But yes, we need to leave some time for questions, and we do have some great questions that have come in. So I will start with those that came in through the registration link. And for those of you who have just joined, Gina put in the chat box that you can submit your questions by going down to the bottom right of your screen, hitting the square made up of little dots called meeting tools, scrolling down to the bottom of that list, and you'll see a pill shake box that says Q&A. So please click on that, and you can type in your question for John there, and he will answer it. Our first question, coming right up. This person asks, you've shown support for the Iran war. You've stated support for Hamiltonian economics, which is an economic belief in a strong central government. I am a libertarian conservative who liked a lot of what Trump campaigned on, but ultimately couldn't get to the voting booth. What libertarian Austrian economic principles do you believe in?
Okay, let's cut to the chase. The big question that's been asked over the last couple, say, months, when President Trump used the power of the United States government to say buy shares in Intel, President Trump helped support miners in building rare earth capability, mining capability. When President Trump made the Bitcoin strategic reserve, these are all Hamiltonian aspects of making America self-sufficient and strong. Now, how is it also Austrian? How is it libertarian? These are pinpoint strategic level levers that the United States can pull. These are not economic wide. We're not going to buy the S&P 500. That'd be stupid. But we're doing strategic purchases, supporting different elements of the strategic national security supply chains required for our military and required for self-sufficiency of the United States. And I think COVID taught us that lesson the hard way. We found out that most of our medicine was made in China. We found out our rare earths were made in China. And we couldn't even make batteries or other components, let alone computer chips, for our aircraft carriers, for our missiles, for our most advanced aircraft. How do we fight a war against an opponent that has all these materials? Again, so this American system of economics uses the power of the United States to give us the advantage, to give back those strategic elements to make America self-sufficient. However, let's not go all the way. I am all for making America's government smaller and more efficient, particularly with the Department of Education. That should go away. That power should go down to the states and decentralize wherever possible. The states are the closest to their schooling, their kids. Let the states figure out how to do this. Besides, the Department of Education was a tool for political use. It wasn't, we put a man on the moon, we won World War II, we became a superpower way before the Department of Education came on the scene. It was a political construct by Jimmy Carter back in '79 for him to get elected. Nothing more. Let's get rid of that. Sound money with the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, I think, needs to ratchet down its capabilities, its oversight. No more forward guidance. The idea that the Federal Reserve can project into the future where interest rates will be, what the economy is going to look like, and you have this phenomena where Wall Street penalizes good news. Oh, bad news, jobs went up. We have more jobs, so that means bad. That means this Federal Reserve may not raise rates, or may cut rates. So again, you have this jostling of the economy just based on Fed chairman, 12 people getting crystal ball out, figuring out what the economy is going to look like in the future. None of that should happen at the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve should only do one thing, and one thing very well, is make sure the banking system is well run. That's it. Anything more than that, you're going into Treasury Department territory. So again, I'm all for the libertarian approach and Austrian economic approach of making our economy, our government more efficient, not overbearing, using, say, Bitcoin or other assets into a I want to say a farm reserve, a system where we save into a sovereign wealth fund. There we go. Couldn't find a word. Into a sovereign wealth fund. You have Bitcoin there. You have maybe some stocks that we buy from particular companies. And this fund can be used in the future to fund other things or just be a rainy day fund. Those are great things for America. Again, those who are trying to put the American system in a kind of like bucket or square are not going to be very happy because it's going to straddle all these different buckets. Katie, over to you.
Great answer. And you answered their other question, which was, what will you do? Well, maybe you would like to emphasize a bit on this. I feel like you haven't answered it. What will you do to fight for Delawareans that are Bitcoiners?
I think the pending Clarity Act that's in the Senate right now, and also the Genius Act that was passed last year for stablecoins. The new economy is coming. The digital economy is coming. So right now, during the roaring 90s, where we had the birth of the internet, we never had, if you think about it, we streamed our videos, we streamed our music, telecommunications, email, all this stuff. But the one thing that didn't really change was our money and how we move money around. Yeah, we have Venmo, what have you, but behind the scenes, it is a archaic maze for your payments to actually get to the vendor's bank and be deposited. What we see with cryptocurrencies, what we see with stable coins, is a way forward for maximum transparency. This links in, be a little nerdy bit on economics. So the euro system, the euro dollar system, where it facilitates the ability to trade overseas. When different countries need a medium, which is the dollar, to trade with each other, this euro dollar system enables that to happen. It goes from bank to bank, from different country to different country. However, no one sees what's happening behind those banks. Some people call them shadow banks. And more importantly, the Federal Reserve does not see those banks, what's behind the curtain. But the Federal Reserve can only see what's in the continental United States, within U.S. territories. Beyond that, it doesn't see how the dollars are being moved around the world. Enter stable coins. Enter cryptocurrencies. It's visible. You have an audit trail. You have the ability for individuals to be sovereign with their money. Is very important. And I think the people of Delaware who have cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, what have you, will be very happy to know that the pending Clarity Act will help facilitate how this euro-dollar system will be digitized, and have the ability to have clarity in how taxation is handled, and more importantly, being able to self-custody and know that the government will not have the ability to take your Bitcoin away from you.
Thank you, John. And on that same vein, we know that AI is here and is expanding rapidly. Like innovations such as the internet, it is expanding for both good and for harmful purposes. This voter wants to know, what actually effective safeguards can realistically be implemented to protect us from what is not beneficial to people and the environment in regards to artificial intelligence?
Okay, there's two questions in there. I'll handle the environment part first. It is the easiest. When folks think AI, they think the data center, and they're huge, and they're sucking power like crazy. And Delaware is painfully under the thumb of the 13-state co-op, PGM, where we're sharing the cost of data centers, say in Virginia, Northern Virginia. That kind of cost sharing has to end. It can only end when Delaware becomes self-sufficient in its energy production. And for sure, as I said earlier, small modular reactors, and these things are only about the size of 3 or 4 McDonald's. And there's even smaller ones, about the size of a 20-foot container. So the technology is there to make data centers self-sufficient, very small, and have the power source small with them. And also the water. We are now developing, we being some of the industries out there, companies, using helium, not only to cool the reactors of their small modular reactors, but also to cool the data centers. So there's plenty of technology out there being implemented to not use all this water, to use nuclear power to power the data centers. And not just the power centers, use it to keep the lights on throughout Delaware. Okay, the environment part. That's the fix is on en route. Number two, AI itself. What is AI? AI is nothing more than statistics at scale. It's just a machine that looks at a database and spits out an answer based on probabilities. It's not alive. It's not conscious. It will never have a conscience. Now, having said that, it's very fast. It's like a calculator, like I said. You can't compete against, this AI 101. You can, as a skilled individual, a young mind coming out of school, use these AIs, these AI agents as tools to advance humanity. Because now you have, for example, you now have the advantage of taking a couple data centers worth of AI, what have you, tokens as they call them, and having this machine work over the weekend, which would take, say, a group of scientists 1,000 years to go through, they can do over the weekend, going through permutations on how to find like the best element or group of elements or molecules for, say, Elon Musk's heat shield for his Starship, or a drug. How does that protein fold in a certain way to help a individual with their unique disease? AI can help us do that. Now, flip side, if it could do good, it could do bad. So the bad part is where government will have to be involved, and we're seeing that being played out now with Anthropic and other frontier level AI companies. So the United States, right now under the Trump administration, is checking when a company goes too far too fast with AI. We pull the reins back, we look under the hood, and we ask the companies, is the alignment correct? And what I want to do when you check the alignment, what I would like to do is have a Bill of Rights built into the AI models. I want the AI models to check the Bill of Rights before they do bad things or even good things. I want AI models to have this framework, this alignment that America first and American liberty and human dignity and human life is more important than the type of answers or malice you want to apply to a AI bot. So again, a mouthful. It's a topic that requires maybe another month or two of talking, but I do see a role in government at the federal level in keeping these frontier AI models in check, but also having the United States government make its own model using our own data from our national laboratories, which is what President Trump is doing with his Genesis mission. I want to use that data and the United States hardware to provide every library in the United States with AI, frontier level AI. So little Johnny or entrepreneur or lifelong learner can go into the library and get frontier level AI access. For sure, OpenAI and Anthropic, they'll be out there as well, but there needs to be a way for the everyday person to go in the library and check out a book or check out an AI and do advanced reading, to do model development or whatever. That's the kind of balance we need to have between private industry, which is going fast and furious, and the government pulling back on the reins and making sure we're not hurting anyone in the meantime. Over to you, Katie.
A responsive and visionary, John. We're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about veterans, a group that's definitely close to your heart. This voter wants to know, what is your idea for a new program or to fix the programs in place that are supposed to be serving veterans in Delaware?
What veterans have been telling me over and over again is they can't get the care they want or need. They have to travel very far, say Annapolis or Wilmington, if they live in the South, or even go to another state completely, New Jersey or Pennsylvania. Why is that? And why is it that some veterans are being told, hey, don't take the VA money, I want you to take the Medicare money? It's being a state worker telling you which way to go. So I would like to find out at the federal level, if we have these many veterans, where's the VA money going? It should equal veterans should equal VA money allotments. It shouldn't be down here. Right now, from what I'm being told, it's down here in the Delta. That money is being pushed into Medicare instead. And once that money gets pushed into Medicare or Medicaid, the state has more flexibility where it can apply those funds. So I want to look into that. I want to make sure that we have X number of veterans. I think close to 70,000 in Delaware. I want VA funding to equal the level of the folks here in Delaware that are veterans.
Thank you. What role should parents play when it comes to healthcare decisions involving their children?
Complete control. I don't want the federal government. Let me take a tangent here because it will meld into this. It also goes into the abortion issue, which I'll bring up. To me, the Democrat Party and the radical left is siding more towards death. So even before you're born, they want babies to die. After you're born, when you're a kid, they want to castrate you. When you're a young adult or even a mature adult, if you're not feeling so well, you have a bad day, hey, euthanasia, go for it. Or grandma's too old and sick, her hospitals are too much. Hey, please sign here so you're not a burden to the family anymore. It seems to me that the Democrat Party as a whole are moving down this path of death first and then figure out maybe how to fix things. That's not the American way. That's not the Christian way at all. Parents need absolute control over the health of their children, whether it's vaccines, whether it's this trans for everyone thing. We can't deconstruct the family unit. The family unit is our strongest element in the United States, in any Christian nation. Without a strong family unit, you start breaking the fabric of society. And we find that the leftists, the socialists in the United States want to deconstruct the family and have the state be the family. Every time that's ever happened in history, maximum death. Millions of people have been killed, whether it's in Russia, China, or where have you. Socialism does not work. And this idea of tying it back to parents don't have the right or obligation to manage the health of their kids. Absolutely wrong. It's not the state's responsibility.
Thank you. And in that same vein, what is your stance, John, on abortion?
Life. It's all about life. In fact, we're short babies. We need more kids in the world, let alone the United States. I think we're like 1.2 in replacement level. And you need 2 babies per mother to just sustain the population. This one desire to shrink the population is madness. You can't grow a prosperous nation if you're constantly finding ways not to have babies. So pro-life all the way.
Switching gears here, this voter asks, John, you clearly have an advanced view on foreign affairs. What lessons from today's global challenges can Delaware apply right here at home?
In 2003, when I was in the desert in Camp Virginia, I was at 5th Corps headquarters. And at headquarters, I was a planning officer. We were the G5, or the plans tent. And our job was long-range planning. So we were, as February 2003, we were planning how we would take down Baghdad and afterwards. So one night we were smoking cigars outside the tent, and every one of us, the best and brightest planners, strategists in the U.S. Army, was there. We're all smoking cigars. There's no way we're going into Iraq. It makes no military sense at all. We had all the reasons why. We'll be stuck in the desert for months to be a political pawn while the administration and UN and Saddam all work out a deal. And the next day, go, rolling start. That taught me a really important thing. Sometimes politics and reality don't line up. They miss each other. And sometimes it's mainly because, well, not mainly because, but sometimes it is that you don't know what's going on. There's conversations beyond you that you don't understand what's happening. But I've seen over and over again throughout my military career where reality and planning and what you want to do don't meet up. And I'm seeing that in Delaware. Leadership in Delaware has no vision. This goes back to the beginning of my monologue. Without a vision for Delaware, what does Delaware want to be? What do we want Delaware to turn into? Why do we want to tell our kids you should stay in Delaware, not get your degree and go off and start a career in, say, New York City or Texas? You should stay in Delaware because, in my vision, Delaware is a hub of innovation. We have a beautiful relationship of high tech and innovation and good energy, but a beautiful nature, beautiful environment where we have that balance. We're not destroying our land while building this big tech. We can have both, but we have to have leadership who has a vision and is able to propagate that vision down to the lowest level so everyone understands. Looking at the clock, sorry.
Okay. This person has a very interesting question. How can you try to give oversight while being outnumbered in this blue state, while most voters are bought off by the Socialist Democratic Party? What would you have to say to strengthen and inspire real Republicans, not just Republicans in name only, who feel unseen or unheard in Delaware?
Be brave. Tell all your Republican friends, be brave and tell people you are a Republican. This illusion of the Democrats in Delaware are 10 feet tall. They're unstoppable. They have so much money. They're so organized. No. The Russians were 10 feet tall. They weren't. The Iranians were 10 feet tall, and they're not. And on and on and on. These illusions are built up to cower you, to keep you quiet. I don't know how many times I've talked to friends here in my house, my man cave, who are Democrats. Take them into the man cave. Hey, John, or hey, Bill, Bob, whatever. What do you think about the political environment here? Well, John, I wear a D in my armband because I need the access to business. I need the contracts and the social interaction. If I don't have a D next to my name, I'm not getting it. I'm not moving ahead in Delaware. We can't have that. That social gridlock opens the door for the Democratic Socialists of America. When you have Democrat leadership like Chris Coons, the company man for the Democrat Party, will always take the orders from on high, regardless of how crazy it is. That's dangerous. We start moving to the left over and over again because we choose to believe in the illusion. So for all you Republicans out there, be brave. Let people know you're Republican. Let other people know that you're a Republican and motivate them to come on out. Because I believe there are a lot more conservatives in Delaware than we realize. And a lot of them are wearing D on their armband, and they actually are conservative, but they're just laying low for contract or business reasons, for social reasons.
And that also plays into your campaign slogan, which is more than just a slogan. It's a vision that you have for the state. It's a new day for Delaware where Republicans and conservatives can walk around in the daylight and be proud.
Absolutely.
It's on its way. What has surprised you most while campaigning across Delaware?
What surprised me most? I think I already knew this going in, but I didn't realize how stark the differences were between Newcastle County, Kent County, and Sussex County. It's like 3 states in one, 3 genres in one. And it's funny because you have these same kind of separations in California, Northern California, Central, and whatnot. There's always blocks. I guess what surprised me the most was how culturally defensive folks were, particularly in Sussex County. All these blow-ins coming in, and from New York City, from Pennsylvania, all the blue state folks are moving into Delaware because it's cheaper, but they're bringing their politics with them. I guess what surprised me the most was how defensive folks in Southern Delaware were. They see it, they don't like it, they want a way to defend themselves, and the answer is to be brave.